In a quiet city, there lived a young man named Ethan. Ethan was bright, diligent, and had big dreams for his future. However, he had one habit that often led him into trouble: he couldn't stop talking about his plans. Every time he learned something new or set a new goal, he eagerly shared it with everyone around him. Whether it was his academic ambitions, career goals, or personal projects, Ethan believed that talking about them would help motivate him, and he loved the attention and praise he got in return. His friends admired his ideas, his family was proud of his ambition, and his teachers often praised him for his vision. However, despite all his big talk, Ethan found it hard to achieve success. One day, Ethan met an elderly man named Professor Singh at a local park. Professor Singh had observed Ethan for some time, always hearing him speak of his dreams. That day, the wise professor called Ethan over and asked, "My young friend, you often talk about your dreams, but have you achieved any of them yet?" Ethan hesitated. He had many goals but had accomplished very little. He replied, "Professor, I try, but things just don't go as planned." The professor smiled gently and said, "Let me share a story with you, one that might help you understand." The professor began, "Long ago, in a small village, there was a farmer named Samuel. Samuel was poor but incredibly hardworking. He had a dream to own a large farm full of crops. Every day, he worked tirelessly, saving every penny he could. But Samuel had one rule: he never spoke about his plans to anyone. People in the village would often ask him, "What are you working so hard for?" But Samuel would just smile and say, "You'll see when the time is right." Years passed, and Samuel slowly began to buy small pieces of land, plant crops, expand his farm, and build a beautiful home. The villagers were stunned at how much he had accomplished without ever boasting. One day, an old friend of Samuel's came to visit and asked him, "Why didn't you tell anyone about your plans?" Samuel simply replied, "When you talk too much about your dreams, two things happen. First, people discourage you. Second, your energy gets wasted in talking instead of working. Silence protects your goals. Words are like arrows: once they are shot, they can never return. I chose to let my success speak for itself." Hearing the story, Ethan was lost in thought. Professor Singh continued, "You see, Ethan, when you talk too much about your goals, two things happen. First, people may not always be happy for you. Second, the excitement of your goal fades away. When you talk about it, your mind believes you have already achieved it, and you lose motivation to actually work for it." Ethan finally understood. He was expending too much energy talking about his goals instead of acting on them. He asked the professor, "Can I still change myself?" Professor Singh smiled and said, "Of course, Ethan. From today, speak less and act more. Let your success make the noise, not your words. Silence is powerful." From that day forward, Ethan stopped sharing his plans with everyone. Instead, he focused on taking action, studying harder, working in silence, and avoiding unnecessary conversations. As the months passed, Ethan noticed a change. He was achieving more, his confidence grew, and he no longer needed external validation. When the final exam results were announced, Ethan topped the school. His friends asked, "How did you do it?" Ethan simply smiled and remembered the professor's words, "Be silent and let your actions speak." Years later, Ethan became a successful entrepreneur, inspiring others with his story. He proved that true success comes not from talking, but from acting. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful tool. Speak less, work more, and let your success do the talking.